Have you ever found yourself endlessly scrolling through bad news on your phone? In the digital age, it's easy to get lost in the endless stream of information. But when that stream turns into a torrent of negative or depressing news, it can become a whirlpool that's hard to escape from. This behavior, this seemingly endless dive into the abyss of anxiety-inducing headlines and heart-wrenching stories, has a name. It's called doomscrolling. It's when you find yourself continuously scrolling through social media and news feeds, engrossed in the latest disaster, controversy, or tragedy. It's the midnight deep dive into the darkest corners of current events, the constant refresh of the news feed in search of the next shock or shakeup. It's the modern-day equivalent of rubbernecking, but with a global scope and a 24/7 news cycle. If this sounds familiar, you might be participating in a behavior known as doomscrolling. Ever wondered why you find yourself caught up in this endless cycle of scrolling through bad news? Let's dive into the reasons why we doomscroll. First and foremost, it's crucial to understand that our brains are wired to pay attention to negative information. It's an evolutionary trait that helped our ancestors survive in the wild by being hyper-aware of potential threats. This is known as negativity bias. In today's world, this bias doesn't serve us as well, and instead, it drags us into the abyss of doomscrolling. Now couple this human tendency with the addictive nature of social media. These platforms are designed to be as engaging as possible. They use algorithms that show us more of what we engage with, creating a feedback loop that keeps us hooked. If we're constantly clicking on negative news, the algorithm feeds us more of the same, trapping us in a doom-scrolling cycle. Moreover, the fear of missing out, or FOMO, can also fuel doom-scrolling. In this interconnected world, we often feel the need to stay updated with everything happening around us. This compulsion keeps us glued to our screens, perpetually scrolling, often through distressing content. There's also an element of control at play. When the world feels chaotic, staying informed can give us a sense of control. However, this often backfires, as the more we doomscroll, the more out of control we may end up feeling. Lastly, let's not forget about the role of habit. Many of us have developed a routine of checking our phones first thing in the morning or right before we go to bed. This habitual scrolling can easily turn into doom scrolling if we're not mindful of the content we're consuming. While it might seem like a harmless habit, doom scrolling can have serious effects on your mental health. Doom scrolling might seem like a harmless habit, but it can have serious effects on your mental health. Let's delve into the impacts of doom scrolling on our mental well-being. At the core of it, doom scrolling tends to amplify feelings of anxiety and stress. As we scroll through endless streams of distressing news, our brains are constantly on high alert. This state of hyper-awareness, while useful in certain situations, can become detrimental when sustained over long periods. It can lead to chronic stress, which has been linked to a host of health issues, including heart disease, diabetes, and even certain types of cancer. Moreover, doom scrolling can also disturb our sleep patterns. You see, the blue light emitted by our devices suppresses the production of melatonin, the hormone that regulates sleep. Couple that with the anxiety-inducing news we consume, and it's no wonder many of us have trouble falling asleep or experience disturbed sleep. Over time, this can lead to a vicious cycle of fatigue and increased anxiety. Additionally, doom scrolling can foster a general sense of hopelessness or despair. The constant exposure to negative news can make us feel like the world is spiraling out of control, and that there's nothing we can do to change it. This sense of powerlessness can lead to feelings of depression and can seriously impact our overall mood and outlook on life. But the effects of doom scrolling don't stop there. It can also impact our social relationships. As we become more engrossed in the world's problems, we may start to neglect our personal relationships. This can lead to feelings of isolation and loneliness, further compounding the negative effects on our mental health. In essence, what may start as a casual scroll through the news can spiral into an all-consuming habit that affects every aspect of our lives. From our physical health and sleep patterns to our social relationships and overall mood, doom scrolling can have far-reaching effects on our mental health. It's clear that doom scrolling is not just a harmless habit, but a behavior that can seriously affect your well-being. Now that we understand the effects of doom scrolling, the question is, how can we stop this behavior? Before we dive into the solutions, it's important to note that change does not happen overnight. It's a process, and it's okay to take small steps towards a healthier digital lifestyle. Firstly, setting limits on social media usage can be highly beneficial. Many smartphones and social media platforms now have built-in features that allow you to monitor and limit your daily usage. Try setting a reasonable limit for yourself, such as 30 minutes or an hour per day. You'd be surprised at how much time you can free up by simply cutting back on unnecessary scrolling. Secondly, shifting your focus to positive news can also help. While it's crucial to stay informed about the world around us, it's equally important to balance the consumption of negative news with uplifting stories. There's a lot of good happening around us. We just need to shift our focus to see it. Try following accounts or subscribing to newsletters that share positive news, and take some time each day to read or watch something that uplifts your spirit. The third strategy is practicing mindfulness techniques. When you catch yourself doom scrolling, pause for a moment. Take a deep breath. Ask yourself, is this really how I want to spend my time? More often than not, the answer will be no. This simple act of mindfulness can help you break the cycle of doom scrolling. Additionally, engage in activities that promote a positive state of mind, like exercising, reading a good book, or even cooking your favorite meal. These activities can help you recharge and reset, reducing the urge to engage in doom scrolling. Lastly, you might find it helpful to designate certain times of the day or week as tech-free periods. During these times, commit to putting away your electronic devices and engaging in other activities. Remember, it's important to stay informed, but not at the expense of your mental health. In conclusion, doom scrolling is a behavior that involves endlessly scrolling through negative news on social media. It's a modern phenomenon driven by our innate curiosity and the addictive nature of digital platforms. The constant exposure to distressing content can negatively impact our mental health, causing anxiety and sleep problems. However, by recognizing these patterns, setting digital boundaries, and actively seeking positive content, we can break this cycle. By understanding why we doom scroll and its effects on mental health, we can take steps to break the cycle and promote healthier habits.